Dear friends, we are going to start the last panel of this today conference. The subject is the image of Israel in Europe. We have to speak about Europe because the image of Israel in America, in China, in India is much nicer than what it is in Europe. Therefore, we have to concentrate on the subject which is bothering the state of Israel, the Jews in Europe, and all the friends of Israel. We are lucky to have in this panel 4 prominent personalities. First, closer to me is Maurice Lévy, Chief Executive Officer of Publicis. Next to him, Elie Chouraki, who is a movie director and French producer of movies. Next is Alexander Kolks, who is a partner in Godard Global and has had functions in Brussels in the European politics. And then Dr. Toby Green, who is Director of Research at BICOM, which is British Israel Communication. As you may notice, we are 5 people, out of which 3 French. It can be explained, first of all, because the Jewish diaspora of France is the second in the world after the US, and also because the relationship between French Jews and the State of Israel is very special. If you had the opportunity to come to Israel in July or August, you could have seen that Tel Aviv and Netanya are occupied territories by French. Now, we will start with the first, the number 1, the Ichiban in world publicity. It's our friend Maurice Lévy. His job is to help selling products all over the world. It usually supposes that the products that he's promoting are good. It so happens that it seems to many of us that the Israeli product is a good one. It's a country which was transformed in a few decades from a desert into a garden. It's a country where immigration was multiplied by 15. It's a country which integrated 100 people coming from 100 countries, speaking 80 languages. It's a country which is admired for its high-tech development and its superb development in sciences. So it's strange that although all these qualities, it's so difficult for Israel to be well accepted in Europe. So my first question to Maurice Lévy is, what can he do to improve this image of Israel in Europe?
Thank you, Roger. First of all, we are not 3 French people around the table. I'm the only French people here because Elie is now an Israeli.
Both.
So, and you are not at the table. Before saying what to do, and if I had the recipe of what to do, I think that I will be probably the most acclaimed advertising person on earth, because the situation is something which is very strange. As you said, Israel has a lot of positive strengths, and nevertheless, when you look at its image in a lot of countries, you see that the image is unfortunately very bad. I have gathered a few information which I think are interesting. You see that at the last BBC survey, which is something that BBC is doing on a global basis, what you see is that Israel is the third among the nations which are perceived as having a negative influence in the world, neck and to neck with North Korea, and before Iran, Iran is number 4. So in terms of image, Israel is perceived as having an image which is more negative than Iran. This tells you a lot.
Does it mean that the communication of the State of Israel was lousy?
This is something I will come to in a minute. The second aspect, which I would like to point out, and then I will come to what I think are the issues and for this situation, is that when you speak, for example, you make a poll in France, just to take one country, where the Jewish community is quite strong and has a good influence in some aspect, and a less good influence perceived by the people in some other aspect, because we have still some anti-Semitic issues. 90% of the French people, when it comes to Israel, and when they know something about Israel, the only thing they are bringing up is the issue of conflict with the Palestinians and the issue of occupied territories. Why are we in that situation, and why are we in front of a kind of wall where it is very difficult to show all the positive aspects of Israel? The first thing is that Israel is very good at a lot of things, but not in communication, unfortunately. Israel has always thought that communication has to come after. There was a time where Israel was extremely strong in terms of communication and has lost this strength. The second aspect is that the world, Europe, China, the US, love the victims and they do not like the winners. If we were still a country in huge danger in the mind of the people, we would have a better image automatically, because they love the victims. And today, the victims, since the beginning of the 70s, this is where things have started. It's not a problem of yesterday. The victims are much more the Palestinians than the Israelis. The third aspect is that in Israel, it's very difficult to have one opinion and to have one voice. And for example, when you look at the spokesperson, the number of spokespersons that exist in Israel, which are capable of giving a message outside of the country, is just impossible to manage. When there is a fact, whatever the fact is, and it could be a peace process, it could be an attack, less today, but in the old days, there was some terrorist attack. You had Tzahal, you have the Foreign Affairs Minister, you have the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has 2 or 3 spokespersons, one in French, one in English, and very often they were not saying exactly the same, and you had other bodies who were speaking. And this was blurring the message, and the message has never gone through, simply because you had so many different people speaking from their own side that it was very difficult to get one simple message through the audience. I have been part of a lot of Asbara, this is the word in Hebrew, Asbara meeting. The first one was with Menachem Begin, so this tells you a lot. And every other year I was invited to speak or to participate or to be in a task force. We made a lot of recommendations. about how to speak and what to say, etc., etc. We brought in a lot of people from the US, from the UK, from Germany, from Latin America, from Far East. We were willing to help Israel to speak with one voice and to have a true communication program. It has never been put in force simply because they couldn't agree. We are used to say that you put two Israeli persons in one room, and when they get out of the room, you have three ideas because they cannot agree on one. And that is the situation. As long as you have this kind of problem, as long as Israel doesn't consider that image is paramount and the image has to be managed, as long as this is not getting through, you will hardly improve your image, despite the fact that you have Nobel Prizes. If you look at the last Nobel Prizes, you have three who have been either working with Israelis or with universities or with labs in Israel, one for more than 30 years. And this has had zero impact in the society at large. It had an impact in the scientific society, and all the scientists know that in Israel there is a lot of knowledge, and there is something which is absolutely buoyant in terms of knowledge and how to create innovations and how to build something fascinating in terms of science or technology, but it doesn't permeate the public opinion.
But Maurice, the image is not depending only on slogans and on the images.
I'm not speaking about slogans. I'm speaking about the day-to-day work.
But it depends also on political life. I remember when Ariel Sharon decided to withdraw from Gaza, all of a sudden, Israel became extremely popular in France. So it's also...
Not only in France. It is, we have an expression which is acts, but not ads. So you have to act and not so much to make ads. It's not about advertising. It's not about a communication program. I will give you one example, which is a very old one, but quite interesting because I had a conversation in those days with Sharon and with other Israeli leaders. It was at the time of the peace process. And I said to them, you have to say that you are ready to speak with the Palestinian and with the PLO just because the first to say that will be the winner. And it has been Arafat who said it. And we know that Arafat didn't want peace. So there is something, it looks like Israel is not willing to make steps in the direction of the Palestinian. It looks like Israel is not willing to give a hand. And you are right when you are mentioning the withdrawal of Gaza and the fact that Sharon did this. But today, Israel is not credited for that. If you look at what's happening today, the situation in Gaza, Israel is blamed for that situation. Again, because after the withdrawal, there has been no communication.